During a family cruise, my brother stole my credit card and laughed. Looks like you're covering everything now. I smirked and said, are you sure about that? When we reached the next port, security dragged him off the ship. My parents' screams echoed across the deck. I should have known better than to agree to this damn cruise. When my mother first called me about it, I almost let it go to voicemail. I had a long day at work, and dealing with my family's drama was the last thing I needed. But the moment I saw Mom flash on my screen, I sighed, rubbed my temples, and answered. Adam, sweetheart, she chirped, way too excited for what I was sure was going to be a request I didn't want to grant. Hey, Mom. So, we were talking, and guess what? We're all going on a family cruise. Just like we used to. Just like we used to. That phrase alone made me grip the phone a little tighter. Mom, I don't think. Oh, don't be like that. Your father and I already booked our tickets, and Dylan and Alyssa are coming, too. You work too much, Adam. You need a break. It'll be fun. Mom, I don't need a break. I need. We already bought your ticket. I pulled the phone away from my ear and clenched my jaw. There it was. Classic Mom. Not a suggestion. A decision. My presence had already been assumed. Paid for, even. I took a deep breath. Say no. Just say no. But something in me, some small, stupid part, thought, maybe this time will be different. Fine, I muttered. She gasped, delighted. Oh, sweetheart. You're going to love it. 7 days, 5-star everything. And we'll all be together again. Yeah, together. That was what I was afraid of. By the time I arrived at the Miami port terminal, I already regretted it. The sun was relentless, beating down on my neck as I rolled my suitcase toward the massive cruise ship. The air was thick with salt and sunscreen, excited families bustling around, cameras flashing. Then I saw them. My mother, Laura, looking as put together as ever in her pastel sundress, beaming when she saw me. My father, George, standing beside her in his usual polo and khakis combo, arms crossed, but nodding in approval. And Dylan. I hadn't seen him in almost 2 years, but somehow, that smug expression never changed. He looked the same, tall, broad-shouldered, confident to the point of arrogance. His wife, Alyssa, stood next to him, scrolling through her phone, looking bored already. Well, if it isn't little Adam, Dylan drawled as I approached. Dylan. I nodded. Glad you finally showed up. Mom was worried you'd bail. I was tempted. Dylan let out a short laugh, shaking his head. Same old Adam. Always wound up too tight. I ignored him, hugged my mom, gave my dad a quick pat on the back, and then turned toward the check-in desk. The first couple of days were tolerable, surprisingly. I kept my distance, spent my time by the pool, and even managed to enjoy a few meals without Dylan starting something. I let my parents do their thing, trivia games, dance nights, sipping overpriced cocktails on the deck. But by the third night, I should have known Dylan wouldn't let things stay peaceful. I had just finished dinner when I reached into my pocket for my keycard. It was gone. I frowned, checking my other pocket. My wallet was there, but my keycard was missing. A weird feeling settled in my stomach. I never lost things. Ever. I hurried down to guest services, where a woman in a crisp uniform smiled at me. Hi, how can I help you? I think I lost my room key, I said. Or maybe it was stolen. She nodded and typed into her computer. What's your cabin number? I gave it to her, and she pulled up the records. Then, her expression shifted slightly. Mr. Carter, it looks like your keycard was used about 20 minutes ago. At the casino. My stomach tightened. The casino? Yes, sir. A rather large tab was charged to your account. A cold, creeping suspicion crawled up my spine. Can you check the security footage? I asked. The woman hesitated. I can't show you the footage directly, but I can confirm if it was you who made the purchases. It wasn't. She studied my face for a moment, then picked up the phone. I'll check with security. While I waited, I opened my banking app. My breath caught in my throat. Hundreds of dollars in charges. Drinks. Casino chips. Some luxury dining package I never bought. I knew exactly who did it. And when security called back, confirming my worst suspicion, I turned and walked straight toward Dylan's cabin. I didn't knock. I pounded on the door. After a few moments, Dylan opened it, looking irritated. Then, he smirked. Bro, what's with the face? You look like you just found out Santa isn't real. I shoved past him into the room. Alyssa was lounging on the bed, sipping wine. Give it back, Dylan, I snapped. Dylan leaned against the wall, playing innocent. Give what back? I pulled out my phone and held up the charges. Casino. Drinks. Fine dining. All on my credit card. The one that was in my wallet. You stole my room key, you stole my card, and you used it to fund your little night out. Dylan grinned. Come on, man. You make more than me. Thought you wouldn't mind covering a little fun. I clenched my fists. Are you insane? That's fraud, Dylan. He rolled his eyes. Relax. It's just money. You'll get over it. I stared at him, my pulse pounding in my ears. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't just another one of his petty scams. This time, I was done. I let out a slow breath. Then I smiled. Are you sure about that? Dylan's smirk faltered. I turned on my heel and left the room. I had a plan. And by tomorrow, Dylan was going to regret everything. The moment I left Dylan's cabin, I walked straight to the security office. This time, I wasn't asking for confirmation. I was making a report. The security officer, a middle-aged man named Officer Ramirez, listened as I laid everything out. How my keycard had gone missing, the fraudulent charges, and my very strong suspicion that my brother was behind it. You have proof it was him? Ramirez asked. You have the security footage, I pointed out. He nodded, tapping at his keyboard. Let me pull it up. I waited in tense silence as he clicked through the video logs. Then, his expression changed. Well, he muttered. I leaned forward. Tell me it's him. Ramirez turned the monitor slightly, just enough for me to see. And there it was, grainy black and white footage of Dylan standing at the casino counter, my keycard in hand, laughing with the bartender as he swiped it. That's all I need, I said. Ramirez let out a low whistle. You want to press charges? That was the question, wasn't it? I thought about it. The easy answer was yes. But I knew my family, knew my mother. If I got Dylan arrested, she would never forgive me. And yet, I clenched my jaw. Not yet, I said. I have a better idea. Ramirez arched an eyebrow. Better than getting your money back? Oh, trust me, I said. I'm getting my money back. And Dylan's going to pay for a lot more than that. I spent the rest of the night planning. I barely slept, too wired from adrenaline, replaying every time Dylan had screwed me over in my life. The stolen birthday money. The time he borrowed my car and totaled it. The way he always got away with everything because mom and dad refused to believe their perfect firstborn son could do anything wrong. Not this time. At sunrise, I met Ramirez again. You sure about this? He asked. Positive. He chuckled. All right then, we'll play it your way. I walked out of the security office feeling lighter than I had in years. Now, all I had to do was wait. And when Dylan's world came crashing down, I would be right there to watch. At dinner that night, I made sure to sit across from Dylan. He looked smug, like he had already moved on from his latest scam, like he had won. I let him think that. We ordered drinks. My mother chattered on about some excursion she wanted to do at the next port. Dad nodded absently, already half drunk. Alyssa, as usual, scrolled through her phone. Then, right as the waiter returned with our food, I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Hey, Dylan. He raised an eyebrow. What? You sure you don't want to pay for dinner this time? I mean, since I covered last night and all. The table went silent. Dylan's smile flickered. The HLL are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table, screen up, with my banking app open. The list of charges was still there. Funny, I said. Looks like my card got quite the workout last night. Drinks, casino, the whole VIP experience. I don't remember ordering any of that. Do you? My mother frowned. Adam, what are you talking about? I kept my eyes on Dylan. Why don't you tell them, bro? Dylan let out a short, nervous laugh. This is ridiculous. He turned to our parents. Adam's just being paranoid. Oh no, he's not, I interrupted. Security confirmed it. Got you on camera using my card. My father's fork clattered against his plate. My mother's eyes widened. Dylan, she whispered. He scoffed. This is bullcrap. I shrugged. Security didn't think so. That's when Dylan's face changed. That flicker of uncertainty. He turned to Alyssa. Babe, tell them this is insane. Alyssa looked up from her phone, took one long sip of her wine, and said, You did use his card, Dylan. Dylan snapped his head toward her, his face darkening. What the HLL, Alyssa? She shrugged. You said it wasn't a big deal. That Adam would get over it. But, yeah, you used his card. Kind of a dumb move, honestly. Mom gasped. You knew? She said, horrified. Alyssa rolled her eyes. Oh, please. You knew too. You just didn't want to admit it. Mom turned back to Dylan, her voice trembling. Tell me this isn't true. For a second, Dylan looked trapped. Then, like he always did, he doubled down. So what if I did? He snapped. It's Adam. He can afford it. He's got his perfect job, his perfect life, and he acts like he's better than all of us. So yeah, I took his card. Maybe now he knows how it feels to take a hit once in a while. I stared at him. You're unbelievable. Dylan slammed his fist on the table, rattling the glasses. You think you're some kind of hero? Sitting there acting smug? You're pathetic, Adam. You always have been. Mom was crying now. Dad just looked exhausted. I picked up my napkin, wiped my mouth, and stood up. Well, I said, if I'm so pathetic, I guess you won't mind handling what happens next on your own. Dylan frowned. What the HLL does that mean? I just smiled. You'll see. And with that, I walked away, leaving my brother to stew in his own mess. Because in just a few short hours, everything he had ever taken for granted was about to be ripped away. And I couldn't wait to watch. Dylan didn't come back to his cabin that night. I knew because I checked. I wasn't looking for him out of concern. I wanted to see if he had figured out what was coming. But his room was empty, the bed untouched. Maybe he was at the casino again, trying to win back the money he blew with my card. Maybe he was sulking somewhere, pissed that he got caught. Either way, it didn't matter. His fate was already sealed. I went back to my own cabin and sat on the bed, staring at my phone. I had one last thing to do before morning. I sent a single text to Officer Ramirez. Me. Everything's in place. Do it first thing tomorrow. He read it instantly. Ramirez understood. He's not going to like this. I smirked. That's the point. Then I put my phone on silent, stretched out on the bed, and closed my eyes. For the first time in days, I slept like a baby. I woke up to the sound of someone pounding on my door. I rolled over, rubbing the sleep from my eyes, and checked my phone. 7:32 a.m. Too early for anything good. More pounding. Adam, open the damn door. Dylan. I took my time getting up, stretching lazily before unlocking the door. He shoved past me, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. He smelled like liquor and sweat. What the HLL did you do? He demanded. I arched an eyebrow. Good morning to you too. Don't start with me, man. I just tried to buy breakfast, and guess what? My card was declined. All my cards were declined. I shrugged. Sounds like a you problem. He got in my face. Bullcrap. You froze my accounts, didn't you? I smirked. You think I have the power to do that? He jabbed a finger at my chest. I know you do. You work in finance. You know people. He wasn't wrong. I did have friends in the banking world. Friends who owed me favors. And after I showed them the fraudulent charges on my card, it wasn't hard to convince them to take a closer look at Dylan's entire financial history. Turns out, he had a nasty habit of maxing out his cards and skipping payments. A couple of strategic calls later, and poof. His accounts were frozen pending fraud investigations. Would they find anything? Of course. Because Dylan was a walking scam. I don't know what to tell you, I said, enjoying every second of his growing panic. Maybe you should have thought about this before you stole from me. Oh, don't act like some kind of victim, he snapped. You've always looked down on me, always made me feel like crap because I don't have some fancy corporate job. I clenched my jaw. This isn't about your job, Dylan. This is about the fact that you're a liar and a thief. Screw you, Adam. Already did, I said, smiling. Last night, when I made sure you wouldn't be able to scam your way out of this one. His face turned red. He was breathing hard, fists clenching at his sides. I almost wanted him to swing at me. Almost. But Dylan was a coward at his core. He stormed out instead, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I sighed, cracked my neck, and smiled to myself. That was only phase 1. Phase 2 was coming. An hour later, I was on the deck sipping coffee when my phone buzzed. Mom. I let it ring twice before answering. Adam, what did you do? She hissed, skipping right over a greeting. Good morning, Mom, I said. I'm doing great, thanks for asking. Adam. I sighed. Dylan ran to you, huh? He's in the lobby yelling at guest services. He says you ruined his finances. I didn't ruin anything, I corrected. I just made sure he couldn't keep screwing people over. Oh, for God's sake, Adam, why would you do something like this? He's your brother. There it was. The same old song. Mom, he stole from me. You get that, right? He didn't borrow, he didn't ask, he stole. And guess what? This wasn't the first time. But freezing his bank accounts, she said, like I had sentenced him to death. That's too far. Too far. I laughed bitterly. Mom, if I had stolen your credit card, what would you have done? She hesitated. That's different. No, it's not, I snapped. You always let him get away with things because you can't accept that your perfect firstborn son is a damn criminal. He's not a criminal. He literally committed credit card fraud, Mom. Silence. I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. Look, I said, my voice calmer now. I didn't want to do this. But Dylan is never going to change unless he faces real consequences. You can be mad at me all you want, but I'm not backing down. He's your brother, she whispered, like that word was supposed to mean something to me after everything Dylan had done. And that used to mean something, I admitted. But it doesn't mean I have to let him walk all over me. I could hear her sniffling on the other end. This family is falling apart, she murmured. I exhaled sharply. No, Mom, I said. It fell apart a long time ago. You just refused to see it. I hung up before she could reply. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. By midday, the news had spread. Dylan wasn't just broke, he was trapped. He couldn't pay for anything on the ship, couldn't book excursions, couldn't even leave if he wanted to, since his accounts were frozen and his credit cards were declined. Alyssa was not happy. I overheard them fighting outside the pool deck. You're telling me I married a man who can't even afford a damn pina colada? She snapped. This isn't my fault, babe. Dylan pleaded. Oh no? Then whose is it? Because I sure as HLL didn't max out all your cards. It's Adam. He's trying to screw me over. Alyssa crossed her arms. Well, he seems to be winning. Dylan raked a hand through his hair. I'll fix it. I just need time. Alyssa huffed. You don't have time. And I didn't marry a broke loser, Dylan. And then she said the thing that made me really smile. Maybe I should just go enjoy the rest of the cruise without you. For the first time in his life, Dylan was truly alone. He just didn't know it was about to get even worse. Because tomorrow morning, when we docked at the next port, security would be waiting. And I was going to make sure he never forgot what happened when he stole from me. Dylan was unraveling. By the time we docked at the next port, Cozumel, he looked like a man running out of options. His usual CCKY swagger was gone, replaced by a tight jaw and darting eyes. He was on edge, snapping at everyone, pacing around like a caged animal. And I was loving every second of it. Mom wasn't speaking to me. Dad was avoiding the whole situation like always, drinking his way through the cruise. And Alyssa? She had fully switched sides. I saw her sunbathing alone on the upper deck, a fresh cocktail in hand, sunglasses perched on her nose. She looked relaxed, carefree, like she didn't have a husband currently spiraling into financial ruin. I walked up next to her and smirked. Enjoying the trip? I asked. She took a slow sip of her drink. Much more now that Dylan's out of money. Cold, I said, shaking my head. She just smiled. Oh, please. You think I didn't know who I married? Dylan's fun when he's winning. But the moment things stop going his way, he turns into a whiny little boy. You're not wrong, I admitted. She glanced at me over her sunglasses. So, what's next? You're not done, are you? I grinned. Not even close. She laughed, toasting her drink. Remind me never to piss you off. I walked away, feeling lighter than I had in years. By noon, the real fun would begin. I was sitting in the ship's atrium, drinking coffee, when I saw the security officers moving in. 2 of them, dressed in crisp uniforms, earpieces in. They walked with purpose, and they were heading straight for Dylan. He was arguing with a bartender at the time, probably trying to charm his way into another free drink. He turned when he noticed the officers approaching, his smile faltering. I casually sipped my coffee. Mr. Carter, one of the officers said. Dylan's whole posture stiffened. Yeah, we need you to come with us. Dylan forced a laugh. For what? Guest services flagged fraudulent charges on another passenger's account. We have video evidence of you using his key card and credit card. That's a violation of ship policy and maritime law. Dylan blinked. Then, he did the dumbest thing possible. He tried to run. He bolted for the elevators like a panicked animal, shoving past tourists and knocking over someone's drink. But these officers weren't new at their jobs. They caught up in seconds, grabbing him by the arms and pinning him in place. Get off me, Dylan shouted. This is a mistake. My brother is setting me up. People had started staring. The murmurs spread. The officers didn't react. You'll have a chance to explain yourself, Mr. Carter. But for now, you're coming with us. They started hauling him away. That's when Mom appeared. Wait. What's happening? She cried, rushing toward them. Dylan looked at her like a drowning man. Mom, tell them this is bullcrap. Mom turned to me, frantic. Adam, tell them this is a mistake. I leaned back in my chair, taking a slow, deliberate sip of coffee. Then I met Dylan's eyes and smiled. Are you sure about that? His face went red. Mom grabbed my arm. Adam, stop this. Fix this. No, Mom, I said, standing up. I think Dylan needs to fix this. She turned back to the officers. This is just a misunderstanding. Please, don't do this. The officers remained professional. We'll be discussing everything with Mr. Carter in a private setting. And just like that, they dragged Dylan away. Mom stood there, shaking. Then she turned on me, her face pale with fury. I hope you're happy, she whispered. I exhaled through my nose. You know what, Mom? I think I am. And with that, I walked away. Because Dylan's day was about to get a lot worse. I didn't follow when they dragged Dylan away. I didn't need to. I had already arranged everything with security and the cruise's financial department. By the time they were done with him, Dylan would finally face something he'd never dealt with before, real consequences. I spent the next few hours enjoying the ship. I had a leisurely lunch. I went to the pool. I even treated myself to a massage at the spa, on my credit card this time. By mid-afternoon, I got the text from Officer Ramirez. Ramirez, it's done. You might want to stop by guest services. I took my time making my way there. When I arrived, I spotted Dylan slumped in one of the chairs near the front desk. He looked wrecked. His hair was disheveled, his shirt was wrinkled, and his usual CCKY grin was completely gone. Mom was standing next to him, her arms crossed tightly. Dad was nowhere in sight, probably drinking himself into oblivion to avoid dealing with any of this. As soon as Dylan saw me, he glared. You smug piece of crap. I walked up to the desk and smiled at Ramirez, who was waiting with a stack of papers. How's our friend doing? I asked casually. Ramirez smirked. Not so great. After reviewing the evidence, the cruise line has officially banned Mr. Carter from ever sailing with them again. Mom let out a horrified gasp. Banned? Asterisk. Ramirez nodded. Yep. And since the fraudulent charges were made on board, they fall under maritime jurisdiction. That means Mr. Carter has 2 options. Dylan clenched his jaw. Option 1, Ramirez continued. We involve local authorities at the next port and have him arrested. He'll face fraud charges, which could mean fines and even jail time. Mom nearly fainted. Or, Ramirez said, option 2. He repays every single charge in full, plus additional penalties, before we dock tomorrow. I turned to Dylan. So, what's it gonna be? Dylan was fuming. His hands were clenched into fists, his entire body shaking with rage. Mom grabbed his arm. Dylan, she whispered desperately. Just pay it. We'll figure it out. That's when it hit me. Wait a second, I said, laughing. You can't pay it, can you? Dylan didn't answer. All your accounts are frozen, I mused. Your cards are maxed out. You don't have the money. His face turned an even deeper shade of red. Mom turned to me. Adam, please, you have to help. No, she blinked, stunned. Adam, no, Mom. I crossed my arms. Dylan has spent years taking from me. From you. From everyone. And every single time, he gets away with it. But not this time. Mom's eyes filled with tears. He's your brother. And that used to mean something, I said. But it doesn't mean I have to keep bailing him out. Silence. For the first time in my life, Dylan actually looked like he understood just how badly he had screwed up. Then, to my absolute shock, Alyssa stepped forward. I'll pay it, she said. Dylan's head snapped toward her. What? Alyssa pulled out her wallet, smirking at me. You were right about him, Adam. He's a loser. But I do have money. And I'd rather pay this off now than deal with any more of his bullcrap. Dylan looked like he had been physically stabbed. Babe, come on, he said weakly. Don't do this to me. Alyssa handed her card to the guest services agent without even looking at him. I'm so done with you, Dylan, she said coolly. Consider this my final charity donation. The charge went through. The receipt printed. It was over. Dylan had lost everything. His money, his reputation, and now his wife. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. The next morning, we docked back in Miami. Dylan looked miserable as he dragged his suitcase off the ship, trailing behind Mom like a scolded child. Alyssa? She was long gone. I had overheard her booking a flight to Cancun. She didn't even say goodbye to Dylan. I stood near the gangway, watching as my mother turned to me one last time. You're really okay with this? She asked softly. Yeah, Mom, I said. I really am. She sighed, shaking her head. I just wish things had turned out differently. I looked at Dylan. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. So do I admitted. But this is how it had to be. She nodded, then turned and walked away. I watched them go, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. I had finally won. And it felt damn good.